That Mahomes, he's special, isn't he?
Dude, listen, Coach, he is so fun to watch on television.
No, he's great. He's a great kid too. Loves to work out, and he texted me today. He said, "I'll be ready for that test, the run test we're gonna have." So
that was the head strength and conditioning coach for the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, Barry Rubin. But before we get into the episode today, I want to thank you all for committing and listening to my podcast as I'm closing in on 1,000 downloads, and this only being my 6th episode. So I think that's pretty good progress right there. Make sure you guys subscribe, and if you could be nice enough to leave a review and let me know what you think about the podcast, I'll really appreciate that. You can also reach me at coach.gio.grassi@gmail.com or on Instagram and Twitter at CoachGioGrassi. So get ready, line them up, lock and load, get ready to go. Welcome to the Toes on the Line podcast. I'm your host, Gio Grassi, and today I'm bringing you a good friend of mine, Super Bowl champion from the Kansas City Chiefs, head strength and conditioning coach, Barry Rubin. Coach Rubin, thank you for coming on the show today. And if you just want to take some time to introduce yourself and let the people know who you are, baby.
Well, G, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I'm the head strength coach with the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm from Monroe, Louisiana. That's in the northeast corner of the state. Went to high school there. Played football at Northwestern Louisiana. And after that, I got into coaching immediately in 1980 and went to, then it was called Northeast Louisiana University, which is now called University of Louisiana Monroe. And a guy named Al Miller was the head strength coach. I went there to work on my master's degree. I was under him, and what a wonderful strength coach he is. Coach Miller coached me in middle school, coached me some in college, and kind of was one of my big mentors. And so I went to Northeast with him as a graduate assistant, learned so much under him. And then he left and went to the University of Alabama as the head strength coach after 1 year, and they moved me up at Northeast. And then I was there for a while, and then I went to LSU as the head strength coach in the mid-'80s. And then I got out of strength coaching, wanted to try some other things. And the guy that took over from me at Northeast left, and they asked me to come back. So I went back, and I stayed at Northeast until I got a chance to go to Green Bay. And 1995 was my first season at Green Bay. Kit Johnson was the head strength coach at Green Bay, and he coached me in college. So, and he's a wonderful man, a wonderful strength coach, been in the NFL for years and years, just like Al Miller was. And so I was with Kent at Green Bay. We were together for 4 years. We won a Super Bowl there. And after 4 years, he left and went with Mike Holmgren to Seattle. And then they moved me up in Green Bay. And so I stayed at Green Bay for a total of 11 years. And after the 2005 season, we got let go. And then Andy Reid, who I coached with at Green Bay, was the head coach at Philadelphia. He had an opening, so he brought me to Philadelphia. I'm very grateful for. I was there 5 years with him there, and then came to Kansas City. This is going on our 8th year in Kansas City, and Coach Reid has been just a joy and a blessing to be a coach for. He's the best. And so that's kind of up to date on me right there. And so I've really, really have enjoyed it here in Kansas City. We've had, 7 good seasons so far, coming off the Super Bowl win. And me and my family really have enjoyed it here, Jay.
Oh, that's awesome, man. And you told me earlier before we started the show, you grew up a Green Bay fan. So how was that experience for you, actually getting to coach the Packers? Especially at a time when, Brett Favre was there and all those great guys, Donald Driver, Reggie White.
Yes, that was great, G. I grew up in Louisiana, but my mother was from Wisconsin. And, each summer, my mom and dad, we would take our summer vacation up to see my grandparents, and we'd go to the Packer Hall of Fame. And I grew up just a maniac over the Packers. And then I got to coach there, which is a dream come true. And I got to meet all my childhood heroes like Bart Starr and Jimmy Taylor and Paul Hornung. And being with Brett Favre and Reggie White, those were just wonderful men. And it was so awesome. It was a dream come true.
That's cool, man. So, Coach, I wanted to talk about championship culture today, but let's talk a little strength and conditioning wise. How is your programming and the way you've developed that thought process of creating a strength program for an NFL player changed from your time when you first got to the NFL to today?
You know what? That's a good question. I have stuck with the basic things, and this is going on my 39th year as a strength coach.
39th?
39th year, counting college.
Oh, man.
So, I just know I feel so good about those core lifts, like a back squat or a front squat or even a safety bar squat, an RDL, glute ham raise, bench press, overhead press, some back, pull-ups and rows, those kind of things. I mean, I have stuck with those. That has been the bread and butter of our program, just, my whole career. But I think as I've gotten, older and, more years into strength coaching, a lot of the, I guess it would be prehab and, a lot of those type of exercises or functional exercises have been real big. And you know what? And there's a place for that. Mm-hmm. So we have our bread and butter or our main exercise, and we just pepper in all those other things like, some functional movements and those, which are very important. It just, as I've gotten older, I've broadened the puzzle. It's gotten more to it, more pieces to the puzzle, sort of say, than just lifting weights. Yeah. It's also, some prehab exercises, the dynamic warm-ups, a lot of, just different movements and things like that. But we stuck, the bread and butter are those basic exercises, and also doing, sprints and tempos for conditioning.
Gotcha. Now, what's the biggest flaw you see from rookies coming out of college into the NFL?
Well, I would say the biggest thing is they have not faced a 16-game season. I think their first year, one NFL season is almost equivalent to 2 college seasons. So, that first season is kind of a shock to them. Mm-hmm. And so I see that being it. You just got to have that mental stamina to help push yourself through the whole season. I think that's the biggest flaw in it, and to know how conditioning plays such a big importance throughout, going through a whole 16-game season.
It's funny you say that, because now that I'm thinking back as you're speaking, I'm like, you know what? That's probably why when I was with the Giants, some of the later vets, guys in their mid-30s, it almost seemed like they didn't work hard. But I guess in the back of their head, they're like, man, it's May and I'm in it for the long run. Because when it gets to December, I don't know what it's like to play football in December, but you've seen that throughout your career. So it's awesome that you said that the biggest thing is the shock to these rookies, man. But Coach, you've had a career of winning. You won 2 Super Bowl titles, a ton of division titles. You've won did you win an NFC title with, or you won one with Green Bay? Did you win one with Philadelphia as well, or no?
We went to the NFC Championship game and got beat by the Cardinals.
Gotcha. Okay. So, but
Green Bay, we won 2, and we won 1 in Kansas City. Should have won 2 in Kansas.
Should have won 2 in Kansas City. Hey, but you've been to 6 title games, AFC, NFC. How do you develop that competitive environment year after year, especially with different organizations and 2 different conferences?
I think a lot of that's good timing. Yeah. And it's having great head coaches, which I've been so fortunate to be under. Mm-hmm. When we were at Green Bay, Mike Holmgren was the head coach during those years. Phenomenal coach. Coach Reed is going to be a Hall of Fame coach. You know, he does it. And I think, you know, like we were talking about, to keep them competitive and keep their juices flowing, I think as far as the program, we've always stuck with our basics, but every year we tweak it a little to make it a little different for them when they come in, not just the same thing over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. But we do tweak it just a little bit to have some change, have some variety, and, help keep their motivation going. And, we vary the reps and the intensity, so it's not such a grind every single time they come in the weight room. I think that's a big part of it, that you're not always pushing to the very limit, So my whole thing is I try to, ingrain in our guys, coax your gains, try not to force them. Mm-hmm. I think when you try to force them and you force them too long and too much, that's when injuries can come about or overtraining can come about. Yeah. As long as you're, say if 10 on the scale is an all out, as long as you're staying between that 7 and 9, that's coaxing your gains and making them. That's enough intensity to continue making gains. And I think that's where we try to keep our intensity when we're training. That's in season and off season. We try to do that.
How do you start to manipulate things when some small like soft tissue injuries come about, like maybe a hamstring or guy's finger gets jammed in a face mask and the guy can't grip weights or something like that? What are some alterations of things you do to make sure that they continue to compete at a high level?
Right. First off, they would be with the trainers and they would evaluate them, and if they were really hurt bad, they probably wouldn't come in the weight room maybe for just a little while till they felt like they were ready to get going. But if it was just a minor thing, we would definitely cut back a little bit. We wouldn't want to do anything that would hurt them. We would change exercises on them, to keep the stress down, and until they felt, it's just a progression we try to bring them back in a small progressive manner until they're back full speed.
Gotcha. Now, I want to say over that 4 or 5 month span of a season, if you could just talk about some things you focus on, your philosophy in season versus off season, and how do things change when you come across, week 16, week 17, and then it's playoff time, being that, football's a sport where the collision just beats your body down. We know that. But it's like, man, you don't know what it's like to play 4 or 5 months of football until you're at the NFL level. So how does your stuff change a little bit?
I think at the beginning, I think guys are, real enthused and we get going and our weight, our weight program is centered around, the basic exercises. Now we do have some machines and alternative workouts for them. Mm-hmm. And that's usually, we kind of turn to those type of workouts maybe later in the season when their bodies are beat up. So we can, go to an alternative exercise, either on a machine, a dumbbell, just whatever, which will save the joints. But we try to stay as long as we can, doing, some form of squatting, pressing, pulling. So we stay as long as we can there. And if there is a injury or late in the season, they're beat down, they need to do an alternate workout, we will do it. We definitely will do it. And you know what, 2G, like late in the season, the big thing that keeps them motivated is if you're winning. Mm-hmm. And if you're winning, you have a chance to make those playoffs and run at the Super Bowl, they stay pretty motivated. They stay motivated. And, it's just seasons that maybe, teams that are out of it and it's late in the season, still want to win the dang game regardless. Right. And they still train. That's when it becomes, been in that situation. And that's when it becomes a little harder. But when you have a chance to playoffs, you're in the run, in the hunt for those playoffs, it does keep you motivated. It does keep you motivated. And then last season, Coach Reedy backs down on the practices. They're not on as they were at the beginning of the season or during training camp. So that helps too. So, so just stay, and then you stay communicated with your players. You have a kind of an open communication with them, allowing them to come up and, say, hey, coach, I got, can I do this instead of that, and so that's how I handle it anyway.
That's pretty good. So how do you personally stay motivated that deep into the season? Because everyone can kind of experience some type of burnout, and you guys playing 17 plus, maybe 19 games a year, outside of winning and the Super Bowl being the big prize. Like, how do you continue to hone in on your stuff?
Like toward the end of the season, I think the big things that we do to help keep the guys fresh is we manipulate the sets, reps, and the intensities, and we also have the alternate workout if needed. And I think by doing those things, you help them you help keep the guys fresh, and with practices cut short, and also like in the past we've had our bye week late in the season, which really has worked out in our favor because then they get a week off, so that always helps. And then and the guys have really paid close attention to the recovery. Like when they come in for practice, they have like about 45 minutes before they have to go in to meetings to where they can get a recovery shake. They can the sauna, contrast between the sauna and a cold shower, or the hot tub and the cold tub. So the guys do a really nice job of trying to to recover themselves after practice, and we also stress on them. Hydrating, that is a big thing that we stress on, staying hydrated, and also getting, sleep at night, getting, your 8 hours of sleep or more if you can, so we stay on them like that, especially with the hydration and the sleep. I think those two things are really, really big.
No, I think sleep is huge. And it's funny you say that you think it's really big, because that's the number one thing I'm always preaching to my athletes. And obviously college kids are a little bit different than a pro, but
no doubt.
Yeah, no sleep doubt. Big time. Do you guys monitor any sleep, or is that something you just let the players do their own?
Yeah, we haven't. We thought about, doing it. I know you can get those sleep monitors, but we have not done that. No. Mm-hmm. But we're all the time in their ear constantly about with the recovery, because that's so important. And we have them, like when they get done, we have them foam roll and stretch and recover like that. And we do some light jogging after practice to help recover. And then we do, and then they contrast and get a recovery shake or amino acids and then, eat good at night and get their rest at night and stay hydrated. So, all that really helps, makes a difference.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. But, so Coach, I want to get into talking about big time championship culture and what it takes to just stay competitive at a high level. What are some, like, what are your go-to, I guess, intangible qualities, that you think kept you guys competing at such a high level all season this year and even the previous two seasons?
You know what, I think because we have really good guys on our team. I think that's one of them. I think our GM and scouts and Coach Reid have drafted and signed some top-notch guys. We really have. I'd have to say these groups that we've had here the last couple of years have been some of my favorite groups to have coached. They've been very compliant, when we ask them to do things, and they have a winning attitude. And I think what else is we have such great leadership on our team. Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Tyrone Matthew and, we just got Anthony Hitchens. We just got great leaders on our team. Just, they're outstanding. And I think that's helped a lot.
I mean, you guys look like you're playing backyard football half the time out there on Sundays, man. So, Coach, what are some conditioning things you do that you see a lot of value in at that level, being that you don't see your players as much as college coaches do?
Well, the thing that we like to do, again, like one of the mainstays that I talked about earlier was, as far as our conditioning, I like to always stay with our speed work and then tempos. And, tempos can be 50 yards, 60, 80, 100, or 200 yards. And we do them all different yardage. And they're great for conditioning. And we do half gassers, which are across the field and back, and which we do a lot of those also for conditioning. And then what we've done that I really have liked with our speed work is we have incorporated maybe like an agility, and then you come out of the agility and you sprint 10, 15, 20 yards with that. So you're kind of getting a little of your change of direction movement and your speed together. So that's worked real good. As at the beginning of the off season, we won't do so much of that. As it gets going, we'll start changing to agility accelerations instead of just straight ahead acceleration. So we'll have agility and accelerations in there. We'll have half gassers in there. We'll have tempos in there. So I think those are the big things that we try to do through the whole off season.
Now, with that agility and speed stuff, I like that because you're killing two birds with one stone. Since you're on the topic of speed, how much has the game changed from your time with Green Bay to your time now?
You know what? I think it's a lot more running involved. As far as passing, I think passing is kind of getting over. So you're seeing a more wide open offenses, and so there's a lot more full speed running. For routes and guys out of the backfield. I think that's the big thing that I've seen is just the passing game has just since I got in it in the mid '90s first till now has really grown.
Yeah,
and I think that's why the sprints, the speed work is so important. To keep yourself in top speed and to be able to keep those hamstrings strong. Because that's a good way to develop your hamstring strength is through full speed running. But when we do it, we start off with real short distance to make sure nobody pulls a hamstring. I mean, linemen, we start off at 10 yards, skill guys maybe 15 yards. And then as we get going, we progress the yardage. And then as we get going even further, then we throw agilities in with it. And that's kind of how we do our progression with our speed. And then we progress our tempos. We start off with, small tempos, and then we, just progress the total amount of yardage and on the half gassers also. So it's just, everything's just such a progression. Same thing with our weight workouts. We always start off with work capacity. And there's a number of ways you can go about that. And then we go into our strength mode and then to our power mode. And so you could see everything is a progression through weight training, through our speed, through our conditioning. We have a plan for it all.
Yeah, nothing extremely sexy or too creative, right? Just basics.
No.
Yeah.
Very basics.
Mastering the basics got you 6 title games and 2 Super Bowls, man. That's that's awesome.
Gee, to me, that's the route to go. I think there's a lot of good new stuff, and I think you pepper those stuff in, pepper, some of the other stuff in that you think that can help your program. Yeah. And that's what we've tried to do with our program through the years is stick with the base that will really work. And because a lot of things sound good and then you can't do everything,
Yeah. Trying to find time. How do I squeeze this in,
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. What are some stuff over the years since you brought that up, like that you found valuable with like new things being added to your program?
I think a lot of like we said, some of the functional, a lot of the some prehab exercises have been very beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the dynamic warm-ups have been very beneficial, and learning more about recovery, like after workouts, after practice, nutrition, sleep. I think those are all just so valuable, so valuable.
Yeah. Something you want to keep in the arsenal when it's time to use it, pull it out, right?
Yes, that's right.
Big time, man.
We stress that all the time. We stress that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And our trainers stress it. They stay hydrated all during practice, and we mix up little hydration drinks before they go out for them, and hydrating them during practice, and then after.
That's good stuff. So, Coach, how's I don't want to say what's the message for the team this year, right? So last year you guys lost AFC Championship game. You come back this year, bang, you win a Super Bowl. How do you think you reset the barometer of motivation?
I think the thing is to keep your head down, keep grinding. You don't have to do anything crazy. It's just take one day at a time, and that's kind of our message there. We try to take one day at a time. And go as hard as you can, because if you look too far ahead, you can get overwhelmed real easy. And that's what when I first got in the NFL, I talked to coaches, and I asked them how long they've been in it, and they say 15 years or whatever. And I go, oh my gosh, I'll never make that, and then I just kind of told myself right then, you just take one day at a time, because if I look ahead, you get overwhelmed a little bit. Yeah. But I think that's just to stay the course. Because when I was at Green Bay, we went to 2 Super Bowls back to back, won one and lost one. But those guys just kind of stayed the course. They kept grinding. They kept believing, and I think a big part of it, is being able to keep most of your guys, which we have coming back. There's some that aren't going to be with us. The majority of them are. So I think that's a big key also, is having those same guys coming back, which will really help. And again, it also helps having Coach Rubin as our head coach, because he's magical at leading our organization and our team.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it throughout his whole career. I mean, that guy just knows how to put winning teams together. I mean, you've been with him, so you've seen it firsthand. Yeah,
and he knows how to treat people. He's so good with people. He's a high moral person. He does it without cussing, which I have a lot of respect for. And the players and coaches, everybody respects him. He's just that, that type of person. I'm just feel myself very blessed to have been able to be with him.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, he knows how to pick one hell of a quarterback out of a draft too, man.
Oh, done
That's a conversation for another day, but
yeah, he sure does. And and he coached Brett Favre too, and Donovan McNabb and Michael Vick, and now
great quarterbacks.
Awesome quarterbacks, every one of them.
Talented,
every one of them.
Awesome, man. Hey, Coach, before I let you go, I got to ask you the biggest question, man.
Okay.
If you were not coaching today, what other career or job do you see yourself doing?
You know what? I probably would be a high school football coach and teacher. When I went to college, that's kind of what I thought I was going to do, was just going to go. I would like to go back to my high school in Louisiana and coach there. And the high school I played at, they have a lot of tradition. They've won a lot of state champions, and I loved my head coach there, and that was kind of my thing. I said, God, I'd love to come back here and just stay here the rest of my life and coach, be a high school football coach. So I would have to say probably that's, and then, it didn't happen like that. It worked out great, but that's originally what I was going to do. And I would probably say if I wasn't doing this, that's probably what I'd be doing, would be coaching high school football.
That's awesome. Yeah, just staying around the game, right?
Right. Or basketball, and I enjoyed basketball and baseball too. So any of the sports.
Some sport.
I think
there you go.
yeah, I think it would be in high school coaching those sports.
That's awesome, man. All right, Coach Rubin. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's been an honor to get you on the podcast, man. So I want to thank you first and foremost. But
Thank you. It's been an honor being on it with you.
Yeah, appreciate you, man.
The big message is, as far as training, is sticking with the basics and manipulating your intensity and sets and reps, and keep those sprints and conditioning in there. And just to kind of summarize it, and just to pepper in the things that you think that can really help and work. Pepper those added exercises that you think that will help you into your program.